another episode of Tell Your Story. I'm your host, Todd Nesloni. I'm the Director of Culture and Strategic Leadership at TEPSA. And each week I look to bring you a different guest who has encouraged, inspired, or challenged me in one way or another and bring them on to share some of their story in hopes that it inspires you to share some of yours. I'm thrilled this week to have my friend and former colleague, Lauren Mulgrew, on with me. Lauren, tell everybody a little bit about who you are.
Hi, I teach in Navasota. I'm now a third grade math and science teacher. I started out I started in third, went second, now back in third. And then I'm a new mom to an almost 8-month-old.
There we go. So let's start with talking about the education side of things. So, one question whenever I interview an educator that I love to start with is kind of when you knew that teaching was for you. Because some people, they know from like the moment they were teaching their dolls, while other ones were like, I didn't figure it out till college or later. So when did you realize that teaching was in your path?
I was the one who I was teaching my dolls, my poor great-grandmother, I made them play school, and any family thing. I remember, I think I was like 4 or 5. I got one of those like whiteboard, chalkboard easel things for Christmas, and it was like the best gift ever. And I would steal extra worksheets and stuff from my teachers in school. And again, made my poor great-grandmother work them out, and I graded them and did the whole 9 yards. So I knew from, I guess, 4 or 5 that
so
I was.
Did you always kind of know you were drawn towards elementary?
I guess kind of, yeah. When I would volunteer and like stuff, I kind of was drawn more to the younger kiddos. I guess because I'm short. So being around like
I can associate with that.
Yeah. I was always intimidated by the bigger kids.
Yeah.
I've always just loved the little ones.
I love that. Well, Lauren, you've been teaching now for a couple of years. What is something that you feel like you've really learned about yourself through teaching?
Probably that even if I think I can't do it, I actually can. I guess you really taught me that by volunteering me that I was going to third grade again. And you really taught me that even though I don't believe in myself, that I actually can do it and it will be okay.
And now you've done it for a couple of years and you're still doing good at it. So
yeah, even with this year being crazy, but yeah.
Well, I want to ask about, what I've always loved about your teaching is you weren't afraid to like bring in hands-on stuff or try to be creative or wear costumes or do little things like that. Has that always kind of been part of who you are too, or is that something you had to grow into?
I kind of grew into it more, I guess, when I started student teaching. One of my mentor teachers, she was real hands-on and like that, so I learned it from her. And then when I went and visited the Ron Clark Academy, I brought even more of it back and just made it a part of my teaching and what it was supposed to be about.
Do you have a favorite one of those that you've done?
Oh, probably. I'm trying to think. We did a fraction bakery where the kids were bakers, and each stage they had like different fraction task card activities to complete, and after each one, like they got a cookie that they baked because they did the recipe, and then they got to decorate the cookie and then finally, eat the cookie. But they learned about fractions all throughout it.
That's what I always loved. I knew that at some point during the month, Lauren would do something with food in class and I'd get an invite to come down and eat something. And sometimes it was a little nerve-wracking to know if I was truly brave enough to eat what y'all had concocted. But I always loved seeing little hands-on things like that.
Yeah.
Well, now you are in this world that the rest of us are living in now of unexpectedly teaching from home. And I know that you're in one of those districts where you thought you were sending your kids to spring break and you were going to see them in a week. And then it happened that you haven't seen them since. And so how have you been handling that, not getting to have that finalization or that goodbye, or how are you working through it?
It was really, I knew it was going to happen. Then when he made the announcement, it was really hard.
Yeah.
I did not expect to get choked up. It was just hard because I missed the first 8 weeks with my kids because I had a baby. And then now I don't get to say bye.
Right.
So it's been hard. We are talking through Blooms and Google Classroom, so that's been nice. But a lot of our kids don't have that internet or devices at home. I mean, they have, of course, an Xbox or something, but they don't have the ways to communicate. So it's been hard. It kind of took me back to when we didn't get to say goodbye before with the crazy tornado that we had. So it was just kind of a bummer all around.
And I often think about that year of when we didn't get that last day of school. So for those listening, we were in Navasota. It was the second to last day of school. We were all prepping. We sent the kids home early and we were getting ready for parties and things like that. Then a huge tornado came in, then floods, and it was crazy. And we had to cancel the last day of school. And it was really hard on all of us not to get that goodbye. But, I think even though that was difficult, we knew it was the end of the year. We had been starting to say goodbye to kids. We were wrapping up our classrooms, where this was totally different. Like your classroom wasn't put up at all. You went to spring break thinking, I'll see you guys in a week. I need a break. See you later. And then you're like, oh no, I didn't get that. And something unique that I think you mentioned too is, you work in an environment where not every kid has a device. Not every kid has technology. Not every kid even has a parent whose cell phone is always working. And so that adds a whole nother level of concern and compassion. And I think, something else that is unique about your story is you also missed the beginning of the school year because you just had a baby. And so I can imagine the different emotions that are going through your head of, already getting limited time and then still trying to make it work. What has been probably the most difficult part of distance teaching so far for you?
I think just the communication, because we have those pockets of kids. So since I teach math and science, I have 2 classes. So I have those few little pockets of kids that I do communicate with, and I talk to their parents on a regular basis. But then I have a handful of other kids that I haven't got to talk to at all. Either their parents' number doesn't work anymore. They're not answering. And so it's been really hard to get the communication across and just know that my kids are okay. And just and hoping that they're actually learning and getting those. We had to create a packet, which isn't ideal, but they had to get a packet because, like we said, they don't have the internet or means to do so. And so just hoping that they're getting it and still learning something. It's been really hard. So.
Now, I've mentioned twice now about you're also a new mother. So, you've got to balance that on top of all this. So you're trying to teach from home. You're trying to do little videos or gather things for a packet or do those kind of things. How are you balancing that and being a mother of a newborn?
It's been interesting, to say the least. He naps really well.
Good.
For the most part. He loves napping. And so I will try to quickly do things. I kind of have a schedule, not that I wrote one out, but in my brain, okay, at the morning nap time, I need to post this and this and check on those kiddos. And then, in the afternoon, I kind of do a recheck. And sometimes if he happens to wake up early, he just gets to be a part of it.
That's right.
As best, that is. Not that he is a very good helper at the moment. He's grabbing everything and trying to put it in his mouth. So
I asked you what you learned about yourself through teaching. What is something unexpected that you have experienced through motherhood so far?
Oh, probably everything. I was not prepared when we found out that I was going to be a mom. It was a very nice surprise. So it was very terrifying for me in the beginning. And then I had him on the first day of school. So that again was terrifying because I got to meet my kids and meet the teacher, introduce them to their sub, and I was I might be here, I might not be here. And so I guess just again, might be the same thing, learning that life is okay. And I've had, I guess, if I had to pick one thing, maybe that releasing some control is okay. And if, my husband or yeah, my mom, who are great helpers, if they do it a little bit differently than I would do it with him, it is okay, and he's going to live. And as long as he's fed and happy, like life is okay. So just
That's what I was going to ask because I know you're such a planner and OCD about things that I'm sure these last 9 to 12 months have just been a whole upheaval in your life of
yeah.
realizing that there's so many things in the last 9 or 12 months that hasn't been able to be plannable.
No, I couldn't plan any of it.
Yeah. And so,
Yeah.
Lauren, when you look back on your life about all the great, the sorrow, the struggles, the successes, what is something you reflect back on and think that was really instrumental in playing a part on who you are today?
Honestly, probably getting sent back to third grade. That played a huge part. I think when you came to our school and I told you, like, get me out of this testing grade, I hate it, like, put me back in second. I thought that's where I should be. It was kind of like my comfort zone. But when you pushed me out of it and put me back in third grade, it's really shown that, like, I'm meant to be in third grade. Like, I really like that age and like teaching those kids. I mean, I still, of course, don't necessarily like the state testing, but just going back to third grade, it really taught me.
Now, and you also got that unique opportunity that I've got to do too of looping with a group of kids where you got to move up with them from second to third. And when I did that, I still remember that was such a special group for me. Even though there were days that I was like, why did I do this? I need a break from these kids. And when it was over, and even when I look back on it now, I'm like, that was 2 of my favorite years of teaching because of how deep I got to form relationships, and not with the kids, it was some of their parents. Did you see that kind of happen with you too when you looped?
I did. At first, I was like, oh my gosh, there's no way I can do it twice. But I did. And then it was really special, and it kind of hit home that I had that special bond with them when I came back from being off for 8 weeks in the beginning of the school year. So when I walked into the gym to pick up my kids, just like having all of them like come running up to me was really special because, I mean, we've been together for 2 years, and they kind of, left in May knowing I was going to have a baby, and then they saw me meet the teacher, and then they just knew. So we had a special bond, and like their parents texted and different things while I was out of school. So that's when I realized like I did have that special bond with those kiddos. Not that it was always easy by any means. We had those days where I was like, "Ooh, we got to go," but in the end, it was really special.
I can completely relate to that. And I would say to anybody listening, definitely consider looping, because I think not only does it really help you build relationships even deeper, but you also get a much better understanding of your standards, because you kind of either whether you're you get the where they came from, and they can't say that, oh, my teacher didn't do that last year, because you can be like, I was your teacher, I did that last year.
And that actually happened multiple times in class. They'd be like, no, we didn't do that last year. I was like, actually, we did.
Well, Lauren, when you think about the people in your life that have really played a big role, who is somebody that comes to mind that was just made such a deep impact on you?
Probably my mom and my great grandma. Both of them have always pushed me to be a better person, to be kind, and to just always be there for other people.
Yeah. If you weren't teaching, what do you think you'd be doing instead?
Oh, I think the dream would be to be a stay-at-home mom. I would love it. I mean, if that could be a job, that'd be the best.
Well, you're kind of a stay-at-home mom now with a little bit extra work to do, of course.
Yeah. That's been like the silver lining of, I guess, all the COVID-19 craziness and the school shutdown. It's like I'm getting to be home for like, Walker almost learning how to crawl and like trying different food and like stuff like that would have been, other people witnessing for the first time. Like now I get to be here for it. But yeah, I mean, if that could be a paying job, I would do it.
Now, you mentioned earlier that you got the opportunity also to go, you've been to different PDs and trainings, and you had the experience to go to RCA. What is something that you feel like you really took back from one of the professional learning opportunities you've been on your years of teaching?
When I went to RCA, that was a big one for me. I've been, of course, to the standard math and different trainings. But RCA was really fun for me, and it made me realize that you can have like those really, really high expectations for kids, even if they are from a low income area.
Right.
And if you just push them to meet the standards and like do those expectations, like they'll be better in the end, even with like them fighting you in the beginning on it. RCA really showed me that that was something that you should push your kids to do, and that, you know, they'll survive and be better because of it. But then just how too that they had so much fun, like with their just general math lessons and reading lessons. Like I wanted to be a student there when I visited. Like I didn't want to leave.
You know, it's so funny. I remember my first visit, and those were the exact two things that I took back when I very first went as a teacher, was that, oh my gosh, this is so much fun. Like I want to be a kid in the class, but then also the idea of, you know, it doesn't matter where your kids are coming from. You can still hold them to a high standard and see how high they'll rise up to meet that. So I love that you mentioned those two things. Well, you know, Lauren, one way that I always love to end all of these conversations is I feel like as people, there are things that we hold really close to our hearts, our belief systems, and who we are. And so for those people who may be listening or watching today, if there's one thing that that you wish that they would walk away with, what would your one thing be?
Don't doubt yourself. Always believe in yourself, and just know that you can do so much more than you would ever dream that you could do if you just kind of believed in yourself. Because I personally, like, I'm super hard on myself and like to plan, like you said. So just like having that belief in yourself, like you really can do it, and like don't let anyone tell you that you can't.
I love that. And I got to say, you know, getting to work with you for 4 years and hearing you say that just made my whole day to see how far you have come in just realizing not only your own brilliance and worth, but also being able to pour that into others. So Lauren, I am so thankful that you agreed to come on and share some of your brilliance today. So thank you.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
And thank you everybody for listening or watching another episode of Tell Your Story. Remember, you can check out past episodes on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, wherever you get your stuff, it's there. I hope today's conversation with Lauren has encouraged you to get out there and tell your story, because every story matters.